Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 16, Jaya and Vijaya, cursed by the sages. So we are in the fourth section of this chapter. The Lord is reconciling the situation. So we come to text 32. द्वास्तावदिश्य भगवान् विमानश्रेणिभूषणं सर्वा अतिशया लक्ष्म्या जिष्टं स्वं धीक्ष्णम् आविशत्. Translation.
After thus speaking at the door of Vaikuṇṭha, the Lord returned to his abode, where there are many celestial airplanes and all surpassing wealth and splendor. Purport. It is clear from this verse that all the incidents took place at the entrance of Vaikuṇṭha Loka. In other words, the sages were not actually within Vaikuṇṭha Loka, but were at the gate. It could be asked, how could they return to the material world if they entered Vaikuṇṭha Loka? But factually, they did not enter, and therefore they returned. There are many similar incidents where great yogis and brāhmaṇas, by dint of their yoga practice, have gone from this material world to Vaikuṇṭha Loka. But they were not meant to stay there. They came back. It is confirmed here that the Lord was surrounded by many Vaikuṇṭha airplanes, described here as having splendid opulence, far surpassing the splendor of this material world. All other living creatures, including the demigods, are born of Brahma, and Brahma is born of Lord Viṣṇu. Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. Lord Viṣṇu is the origin of all manifestations in the material world. Those who know that Lord Viṣṇu is the origin of everything, who are conversant with the process of creation, and who understand that Viṣṇu or Krishna is the most worshipable object of all living entities, engage themselves in Viṣṇu worship as Vaishnavas. The Vedic hymns also confirm this. Om Tad Viṣṇu Paramam Padam. The goal of life is to understand Viṣṇu. The Bhagavatam also confirms this elsewhere. Foolish people, not knowing that Viṣṇu is the supreme worshipable object, create so many worshipable objects in this material world, and therefore they fall down. Hare Krishna.
So now this is concluding the pastime. After the speaking at the door of Vaikuṇṭha, so Chatushkumar, they have not entered the Vaikuṇṭha, they were at the door of the Vaikuṇṭha. The Lord returned to his abode, the abode which is decorated with splendid wealth, all surpassing splendid wealth, and many, many aeroplanes. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that all the instances took at the door of Vaikuṇṭha. So Vaikuṇṭha is the place yad gatvana nivartante. So somebody may ask that how did this happen? They come back. So they did not enter the Vaikuṇṭha. All this happened at the door of the Vaikuṇṭha, at the gate of the Vaikuṇṭha, and then they returned. However, there are many instances, Srila Prabhupada writes, where great yogis or the brāhmaṇas, by the dint of their yoga power, they have gone from material world to Vaikuṇṭha. One example of great yogi is Durvasa Muni, and one example of a brahmana is Bhrigu Muni. But they went there and they came back because they never went there with a desire to reside. They wanted to just visit Vaikuṇṭha and come back, and that's what being facilitated by Vaikuṇṭha. And then further, Srila Prabhupada writes about the supremacy of Lord Viṣṇu, that how all the living creatures, including the demigods, even Lord Brahma and Lord Rudra or Lord Shiva, they all emanations, they are all amsha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, the highest swartha of the people want to become swarthi, but the first thing they do not know what the swa is, that is the Atman, and what is the real artha for that swa is. And therefore, Bhagavatam says, Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Viṣṇu. To become really swarthi, one should always consider swartha gatim, keeping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu or Lord Krishna, to be the ultimate worshipable object. Otherwise, we will create so many worshipable objects in the material world, and still there is a chance of falling away. Now we enter the fifth section, that is the text 33 to 37. Fifth section, this is of the chapter, where Lord Brahma concludes the narration and he is continuing his speech to demigods. Text 33. Tau tu girvana purushabhau dustarat dharilokatah hatashriyo brahma shapat abhutam vigatasmayo. Translation.
But those two gatekeepers, the best of the demigods, their beauty and luster, diminished by the curse of the brāhmaṇas, became morose and fell from Vaikuṇṭha, the abode of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So the demigods are inquiring why there is a sudden darkness, and to this question, Brahmaji is answering. These two personalities, the doorkeepers, the Dwarapal of Vaikuṇṭha, Jaya and Vijaya, their beauty and luster, diminished by the curse of the Brahmana, became morose and fell from Vaikuṇṭha, the abode of the Supreme Lord. And because of their falling, and they are going to take shelter of Diti's Jathara, Diti's womb, and this is what is happening. So demigods, they have identified the cause, that this is because of Diti's pregnancy, but they were wondering how can one pregnancy cause such a havoc, that there is a darkness in the universe, and that's how they have approached Brahmaji, and Brahmaji now concludes the narration. Text 34. Tada Vaikuṇṭhadishnāt tayor nipatatmanayo hahakaro mahanasid vimanagreshu putrakah. Translation.
Then, as Jaya and Vijaya fell from the Lord's abode, a great roar of disappointment arose from all the demigods who were sitting in their splendid airplanes.
So this is when the Jaya and Vijay, they fell from the Lord's abode. The great roar of disappointment arose from all the demigods who were doing Brahmana in the sky in their aeroplanes. So higher is the personality, harsher is the fall, and harsher is the impact of that fall. And they are the Vaikuṇṭha Vasis, and they falling that created a huge uproar within the demigods. They knew now something horrible is going to happen. Text 35. तावेव यदुना प्राप्तौ पार्षदप्रवरौ हरेः दितेर्जठनिर्विष्टं काश्यपं तेज उल्बणम्. Translation.
Lord Brahma continued, those two principal doorkeepers of the personality of Godhead have now entered the womb of Diti, the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni having covered them. Purport. Here is clear proof of how a living entity coming originally from Vaikuṇṭha Loka is encaged in material elements. The living entity takes shelter within the semen of a father, which is injected within the womb of a mother, and with the help of the mother's emulsified womb, the living entity grows a particular type of a body. In this connection, it is to be remembered that the mind of Kashyapa Muni was not in order when he conceived the two sons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Therefore, the semen he discharged was simultaneously extremely powerful and mixed with the quality of anger. It is to be concluded that while conceiving a child, one's mind must be very sober and devotional. For this purpose, the Garbhadana Samskara is recommended in the Vedic scriptures. If the mind of the father is not sober, the semen discharge will not be very good. Thus, the living entity wrapped in the matter produced from the father and mother will be demoniac like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. The conditions of conception are to be carefully studied. This is a very great science.
Brahmaji, he continued, that these two principal demigods now, what they have done, they have Diter Jatanam Nirvishtam, and covered with the potency, the teja of the Kashyapa Muni, Ulbanam, very, very strong. They are extremely strong personalities, wrongly conceived, and they are cursed to become great demons, and they are going to create havoc. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, this is the clear proof of the living entity being coming from originally from the Vaikuṇṭha, how is covered with the material elements. Right. So Atma is spiritual in nature, but is covered with the body, and this is the process. He will take shelter of the particular parents, the living entity, and then the biological process, the living entity will receive the body, karmana daiva netrena. Jantur deho upapadyate. So this is very, very famous shloka. Karmana, according to one's karma, daiva netrena, under the supervision of daiva, jantuhu, a living entity, deho upapadyate, accepts one particular body. And here in this case, very highly potent Kashyapa Muni, and is with his Brahma Tej, the tapasya, the Tej coming from the tapasya, and the sharp of these Brahmanas, Chatushkumar, now they are going, and this extremely powerful personalities, Jaya and Vijaya, they will be transformed into Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So Srila Prabhupada writes, therefore, amongst various samskaras, this samskara is also very important, Garbhadan samskara. And the mindset is very important at that particular time. And therefore, it is therefore Prabhupada says the conditions of the conceptions are to be very carefully studied, as it is a great science. Text 36. Tayorasuyoradya tejasayamayorhivah akshiptam teja etarhi bhagavanstad viditsati. Translation.
It is the progress of these twin asuras, demons, that has disturbed you, for it has minimized your power. There is no remedy within my power, however, for it is the Lord Himself who desires to do all this. Purport. Although Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, formerly Jaya and Vijaya, became asuras, the demigods of this material world could not control them, and therefore Lord Brahma and that neither he nor all the demigods could counteract the disturbance they created. They came within the material world by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he alone could counteract such disturbances. In other words, Although Jaya and Vijaya assumed the bodies of the Asuras, they remained more powerful than anyone, thus proving that the Supreme Personality of Godhead desired to fight because the fighting spirit is also within him. He is the original in everything, but when he desires to fight, he must fight with a devotee. Therefore, by his desire only, were Jaya and Vijaya cursed by the Kumaras. The Lord ordered the gatekeepers to go down to the material world to become his enemies so that he could fight with them and his fighting desires would be satisfied by the service of his personal devotees. Brahma showed the demigods that the situation created by the darkness for which they were disturbed was the desire of the Supreme Lord. He wanted to show that even though these two attendants were coming in the forms of the demons, they were very powerful, greater than the demigods, who could not control them. No one can surpass the acts of the Supreme Lord. The demigods were also advised not to try to counteract this incident because it was ordered by the Lord. Similarly, anyone who is ordered by the Lord to perform some action in this material world, especially preaching his glories, cannot be counteracted by anyone. The will of the Lord is executed under all circumstances.
Brahmaji continued. It is the prowess of these twin asuras, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, that is all disturbing you. And that is what is creating this darkness within the universe. And this has minimized your power. There is no remedy within my power, Brahmaji says, neither in yours, for all this is desired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that this original doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijaya, became Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And nobody in the material world could control them. And therefore, Brahmaji, he just advised demigods, this is to be tolerated, and you have to wait for the intervention of the Supreme Lord and do not try to do anything in this condition. So this also proves that everything comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, including the fighting spirit. So Lord only desired to fight. And just like when the king wants to do wrestle, there will be a very, the Shahi wrestlers will be there with whom the king will wrestle. The king will not come to, some Gau Ka Gunda and, wrestle with Gau Ka Gunda. No. He will wrestle with the Shahi wrestlers. Similarly here, when the Supreme Lord appears, he will fight with his own devotees. And here in this case, they are Jai and Vijay. And they are extremely powerful. And Brahmaji says, there is nothing in my power to control these personalities. And there will be nothing in your powers as well, because their power will surpass the combined power of all of you. And what this means is that when Lord desires to do something, that thing must come true. And similarly, Prabhupada says here, similarly, the Lord has desired to spread the holy name everywhere. Prithvi te ache yad nagaradigram sarvatra prachar hoibe morana. So, Prithvi te ache, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different than Krishna himself, Nityanand Prabhu, who is Balaramji, when they descend and when they proclaim this, that their names will be sung everywhere, in every town and village, that includes every town and village of Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, everywhere. Right? We do not know how the history will unfold in next 400, 500 years and how the name of the Lord will be sung everywhere, because that is the virgin, that is the vision of the Supreme Lord, that is the prophecy by the Supreme Lord himself. And therefore Prabhupada says, similarly, anyone who is ordered by the Lord to perform his action in the material world, especially preaching his glories, the devotee of the Lord, cannot be counteracted by anyone, as the will of the Lord has to be executed under all circumstances. And here Srila Prabhupada is talking about himself, that, Srila Prabhupada was ordained to establish 108 temples, give very important literatures, especially Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada is narrating his resolve, confirming that he will move around and preach everywhere. So, text 37. विश्वस्य यः स्थितयोद्भव हेतुराद्यो योगेश्वरैरपि दुरत्यययोगमायः क्षेमं विधास्यति स नो भगवान् त्र्यधीशः तत्रास्मदीयविमृशेन क्रियानिहार्थः. Translation.
My dear sons, the Lord is the controller of the three modes of nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yogamaya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. The most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Purport. When something is arranged by the Supreme Personal of Godhead, one should not be disturbed by it, even if it even if it appears to be a reverse according to one's calculation. For example, sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed, or sometimes he is put into difficulty, just as Haridas Thakura was. He was a great devotee who came to this material world to execute the will of the Lord by preaching the Lord's glories. But Haridasa was punished at the hands of the Kaji by being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified, and Prahlad Maharaja was put through so many tribulations. The Pandavas, who were direct friends of Krishna, lost their kingdom, their wife was insulted, and they had to undergo many severe tribulations. Seeing all these reverses affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is that a devotee never disturbed by such reverses. He accepts even reverse conditions as the grace of the Lord. One who continues to serve the Lord, even in reverse conditions, is assured that he will go back to Godhead, back to Vaikuṇṭha planets. Lord Brahma assured the demigods that there was no use in talking about how the disturbing situation of darkness was taking place, since the actual fact was that it was ordered by the Supreme Lord. Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee. It was possible for him to understand the plan of the Lord. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled the Two Doorkeepers of Vaikuṇṭha, Jaya and Vijaya, cursed by the sages. Thank you, Prabhu.
Brahmaji concludes, my dear demigods, my dear sons, Lord is the controller of three modes of material nature, and he is responsible for creation, preservation, and dissolution. First. Second, his wonderful creative power, the Yogamaya, cannot be easily understood, even the masters of yoga. And this is being confirmed by Bhishma Pitama also. It is very difficult to ascertain plan of the Supreme Lord. And the third, and he is the Purana Purusha, the most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. So do not excessively worry or even try to counter the situation, because it is beyond your and my combined power. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that when something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one should not be disturbed by it, although it appears a reverse condition in by one's own calculation. So what that means is that, that there is a very beautiful saying which says, if we can just realize how insignificant we are, we can become a lot more happier in our life, right? So not that everything, we are not God, and we are not, that the world is not going to move by our calculations. And therefore, sometimes when we see certain things happening in such a way, then one may become very disturbed. And Prabhupada says, but the point is that one should not become disturbed, and especially one should not disturb the process of conducting the devotional service. Prabhupada says, sometimes we may see that some great reversal is happening in the life of a great personality. Like a great preacher is crucified, Jesus Christ. But by the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, now there are billions of people who are Christians, practicing Christianity. Then we see a great preacher, Haridas Thakur, he was beaten in 22 marketplaces. Then we see Prahlad Maharaj going through so many tribulations, right? So, or the Pandavas, the very, very dear devotees of the Lord, they were actually friends of Krishna, and they going through so many tribulations. In fact, in Brihad Bhagavatamrit, when Narad Muni he approaches Pandavas say, "Don't call us devotee. If people come to know and study our life, they will become frightened to become Krishna's devotee. So many tribulations we have suffered in our life." And of course, by their own magnanimity, they are saying this is because of our own karma. But that was not. It was ordained by the personality of Godhead, using them as instrument. Right. And the most favorite instrument of the Lord was Panchali or Draupadi, who was put through so many tribulations and life, the character testing situations, that only she could remain devotee in such, such tribulations. But seeing all these reverses affecting the devotees, one should not be disturbed. It's very, very important. Disturbing things will happen, but one should not be disturbed in one's devotional service. One should simply understand that there must be some plan of the Supreme Lord beyond my own personal calculation. And by understanding this, one should continue to perform the devotional service. So one may be slightly discomforted, one may be a little bit confused, one may not have complete clarity, but the process is clear. And therefore, one should not stop the process of devotional service for the lack of the clarity or for the doubts to be resolved. Doubts will come, doubts will go, but the devotional service should continue. And if one continues to serve the Lord, even in the reverse conditions, is assured to go back home, back to Godhead. And this assurance is proclaimed by Brahmaji. Tatenu kampa sushamikshmanu Bunjana evatmakritam vipakam ridvakva purvir vidadan namaste jive tayo mukti pade sadayabha. So, so this is a very important thing, that we do not want to understand everything. We cannot. But we do not want to stop performing devotional service. And here Lord Brahmaji assured demigods, there is no use of talking about the disturbing situations of darkness. It is beyond your control. And the Supreme Lord will personally come and he only will rectify. Till then, just hold on to your devotional service and continue to perform your devotional service. And this ends Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is entitled Two Doorkeepers of Vaikuṇṭha, Jaya and Vijaya, cursed by the sages. So this is almost midway of third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It has 33 chapters. So if you are using the big Bhagavatam, it is divided into two books. So today we are completing this one book. After 10th canto, we have seen the third canto is the largest one. And it's a great march that, we are through the third canto. Half the canto is done very nicely. We started this on 12th November, and now it is almost like 27th March. Okay. This is how we concluded the 16 chapters. Any question, any comment? You are most welcome.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, small question Prabhu.
Yeah.
Two aspects, two related questions. Like Kumāra's cursed Jaya and Vijay, they also kind of repented, but being Jaya Vijay also pure devotees, they didn't get any reactions by cursing these devotees?
No, because they cursed as per the plan of the Lord.
Okay.
Okay. And again, the positioning that they are at, just 5-year-old children. Like if a 5-year-old child comes to us and says that you will become demon, what you will curse him? Right. So Kumar, they are strategically at a position where they can curse like a great sage and they can be innocent like a child.
Okay.
And that's how they were made instrument to award this curse to Jay and Vijay.
Okay.
Right.
But at the time of cursing, they are not even pure devotees. They were like kind of I mean, the sense, in the pure devotee in the sense like they were thinking of still in Brahman realization level, right? So they're not even like, they didn't see the Lord and they didn't kind of.
Yeah. So they were not the pure devotees till that time. They were still Brahmavadis, but they were very great qualified Brahmanas themselves. So they're one doesn't have to be a pure devotee for his curse to act. Like we see Shringi cursing Parikshit Maharaj. He was a childish boy, right? But his curse also acted on Maharaj Parikshit. Albeit Maharaj Parikshit also accepted that curse. Here also Jaya and Vijaya accepted that curse. Jaya and Vijay were much more powerful than Chatush Kumar. They could have showed their power, saying that, you are showing your power, I will show my power, right? But that is not the nature of a devotee. He understands the plan of the Lord and then he will act accordingly. So Jay and Vijay, it was the greatness of Jay and Vijay. They accepted the curse and did not retaliate. That there is a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam, that Pratilabdhva. And in that situation also, they prayed that, let we always be remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then ultimately, icing on the cake, the Lord only said that this is my plan, so don't worry. So that's how, the whole thing was settled very smoothly. The plan of the Lord is not just to fight. The plan of the Lord is, through fighting, create a narration that will fill the living entity, especially in the material world, with subject matter to discuss about. Just imagine if this not to happen, then which all incarnation will not happen? There will be no question of Narsimhadev coming. There is no question of Varahadev appearing. There is no question of Lord Rama appearing, and there is no question of Lord Krishna appearing. Then what we will discuss? Right. So the three prominent deities that pastimes are discussed are Krishna, Rama, and Narasimha. Right.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So it is not just Lord wanted to fight. When Lord wants to fight, Lord wanted to fight and create a narration, a pastime, which could be recited for all time to come. And devotees will get subject matter to discuss, to be purified, and to come back home, back to God.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. In case of Haridas Tagore, Nawab punishes him in 22 marketplaces. So Nawab got reactions, right? Because he's not in the pure platform level.
Oh, right. That you will see, that particularly, a particular type of mentality, they always punished. And there is all destruction all around. If you see the looters of Afghanistan, they came and they looted Somnath for so many times. And you look at the Somnath now and look at the Afghanistan now. So time will act and time will punish in the due course of time. But eventually the karma principle works like that. Eventually the punishment will be meted out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Yes.
But why Brahmanas are affected through Srungi's curse to Parikshit Maharaj? That is also great. Bhagavatam is coming for us. Why Brahmanas responsible through Srungi's curse?
Brahmanas in Kali Yuga?
Yeah. Yes. In Kali Yuga. That Semikrishi told that this is the responsibility of ours. Brahmanas are degraded in this yuga through your curse to great devotee Parikshit Maharaj. He told.
Yeah. So when something is meted towards a great personality, person as a class will be held responsible at times. So, that's how we will see that many times when something happens to a great personality, the person as the person whom from which class one is coming will come out. And it is good and bad and everything it is. And it has become very worse also in the history, if you have seen. When Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by Nathuram Godse, then a particular class was underwent a very heavy tribulations, and which was very, very wrong. Assassination was wrong, and the counter reaction also was wrong. Same thing happened with Indira Gandhi's assassination. A particular community was targeted by the Congress people, and that was also greatly wrong, no question of. So, but here in this case, when you talk of a community or this or that, it's a a resemblance from the jati perspective. Now, in case of a Shringi, he was a Brahmana. And now, when we say of a Brahmana, he was a qualified Brahmana with Guna Karma Vibhagashah. And when, so what is happening here is when a qualified personality who are supposed to be upholding the religion, dharmic principles, when they misbehave, then repercussions are, they are far reaching. They just do not remain with. So the higher the position of the person is, the mistakes done by them, the repercussions will be far reaching. This is always the case. Right. Yes. Like, if we say something wrong about some country, and if our, the Parashtra Mantri, Jai Shankarji or Modi ji, Prime Minister, he says something, then the impact of your and my speech and impact of their speech, they will be completely different because they are holding a position. Similarly, the qualified Brahmana holds a position of being a guru of the society. That is one. Second thing is, in Kali Yuga, Varnashram system goes for a big toss. Like who is Brahmana and who is Kshatriya and who is Vaishya, it's very difficult to ascertain. Like, simply having a Brahmin surname doesn't make one Brahmana. This is very important. And this is very true, especially in Kali Yuga, right? And that's why you will have a Dikshit being the actress and, somebody like that being doing all those things and coming from typically Brahmin family. So Kali Yuga, therefore, Prabhupada always talked about Devi Varnashram, that whoever you are, whatever is your position, simply be engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, and then one will be purified. Yes. Right?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, here we say the thing is Jaya Vijaya repented, and Kumara's curse for them, and after cursing, did Kumara realize they did wrong mistake about the giving curse for Jaya Vijaya? What is
Yeah, Kumaras realized that they had mistaken by cursing Jaya and Vijaya. So they said that, my dear Lord, it was a fault on our side. If you want to punish us, please punish us. You want to nullify the curse, because we did not understand the etiquettes of Vaikuṇṭha, and the curse was also out of proportion. So they realized the mistake, but the Lord said, no, I don't want to mitigate the curse, nullify the curse, because it is my desire as well. So you simply acted on my desire, and that's how the whole matter was settled.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare